Ye triple words call up and across. A male. That gives me 35.
35?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. 35 is not even the problem. Is there even a word like a male? What is this?
Of course, it's a word like emir. Emir is like the leader of an emirate, like say Qatar or Oman. How can you doubt a word like that? I will not even tell you the story I meant to tell you.
Which story?
It has something to do with somebody like an emir, a king, a very powerful king, long time ago in Africa.
Tell me, I'm all yours.
Well, you see, this king had conquered all the neighboring kingdoms, but he had killed all the old people in those neighboring kingdoms and taken the young male and female as either wives or slaves. Well, he ended up with 200 wives.
200 wives?
200 wives, I tell you. And you know what? He had conquered all the neighboring kingdoms and had killed all the old people in those neighboring kingdoms. It was like a pandemic. And then he had taken all the young women and young men and made them slaves or his wife. But the most amazing thing is that none of them had given him a son as an heir to his kingdom.
That explains.
Yeah, you know, in those days, kings always left their kingdoms to their sons. All these women only gave birth to daughters. Well, it so happened that the king was advancing in age, and the elders came to see the king one day and told him, "Look, Your Majesty, you are advancing in age, and you know what that means. You need to find an heir to your kingdom." He said, why should I find an heir to the kingdom while I have daughters and daughters and daughters who can take over? No, 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 no. A daughter is no good as an heir. You need a son to take over from you. Oh, well, so what should I do? Asked the king. You need to find another wife. Ha! Ha! I already have 200 of them. Well, 201 cannot hurt, said the elders. So the king tasked the elders with the duty of going to find himself this 201st wife. They traveled through the kingdom, far and wide, in its breadths and lengths, but they could not find a girl fit enough to marry the king. They were either too young or too old or married already. But then one day they came to the compound of a strange animal called a spider, and he had a daughter. And so they took this daughter to the king.
A spider?
Oh, yes, the very same one. The one with the 8 legs. The interesting thing was not that the girl was the daughter of the spider. It is that she was ugly beyond belief. Ugly, my friend. Ugly. You know the skin of a spider?
I can imagine.
That is what she possessed. When the elders took her to the king simply said, "What are you? Are you mad? My wives will not accept this creature into the palace. Come on, you could do better than this." Well, they said, "Your Majesty, we've traveled far and wide, and this is what we would come up with. But what do you care? She'll bring forth a son for you to leave the kingdom to." How sure are you? Your Majesty, she's young enough. I am sure this time it will be a son. Well, the elders had their way, and the king married the daughter of the spider. But then he had to build a separate house in the palace where she was to stay, never to come out. He didn't want everybody to know that he had married such an ugly-looking creature.
They isolated her.
They isolated her, yes. And she was sad, for she had no company. And the king would only visit her once in a blue moon under the cover of darkness. One day, the king's eldest wife, Nyansiongo, looked at this woman and thought, "This ugliness, there's something that more than meets the eye. Something very strange about this ugliness." And she thought it was put on that there was something sinister that this girl must be planning. And so, to really clear out those doubts, she went and visited a medicine man whom she had been secretly left for by her great grandmother. And she consulted with the medicine man, and the medicine man told her, yes, your fears are not unfounded.
Which secret is this?
The secret was that she had two skins.
Two skins?
Yeah, more like a jumpsuit. You know the way you zip up one skin and you unzip it and have another one? That the one inside her was very, very beautiful. It is the ugly skin that she wore on a daily basis that deceived the world. And so, the king's head wife asked the juju man to give her juju, to give her proper juju that would make the king forget about this woman. You know how sometimes medicine men like to scare people, especially if there is money.
Yes.
You know how they operate.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she had about 200 calories. The juju man said that's too little. And so they negotiated and bargained and haggled all night long until they came to a price of 350 calories. That, my friend, is like $350 million today. A lot of money.
That's huge. That's a lot of money.
Yes. You can say that again.
Yes.
It was a lot of
A
money.
lot of money.
The medicine man was happy. And so Nyansiongo was given a concoction by the medicine man, the juju man, to take to her husband, the king. Of course, not to just give it to him, but to mix it in his food and drink, his food and his wine. And when the king ate the food and drank the wine, he completely forgot about Wasioma, the daughter of the spider. Completely. He would pass her as though she didn't even exist, as though she wasn't even a resident in that compound. He completely forgot about even his secret visits at night to her place.
The juju is working.
Not is working, worked. But for how long, you ask yourself? Nothing lasts forever, my brother. So, it came to pass that the girl got lonely and lonely and lonely and decided that there was no point to this marriage. So she packed her things and went back home to the compound of the wise spider, her father. And when she narrated her ordeal to her parents, the mother reminded her that she was never to reveal her true self because, I forgot to tell you, she had an inner skin which was beautiful, more beautiful than anything you have seen with those your own eyes. It was almost like she was wearing a suit on top of her real self. But the mother had forbid her completely never to reveal her true beauty until the right time came. The father immediately took action. He took her to their local medicine man.
The juju man.
Yes, but not the one of Nyansiongo, but a different one. One who was more humane, one who did not extort, although he was given something small, of course. The spider himself was not a poor man, and so he was able to afford this price. It's still undisclosed today how much the spider paid this juju man to help his daughter get back into the palace and get the king back to realizing that she was his wife. Well, she was given some concoction. She was told to mix it with the king's food and the king's wine, and that way she'll be able to get him back to his memory, back on him recognizing that she was indeed one of his wives, the 201st wife. And believe it or not, he invited her one evening to his chambers. And when she came to his chambers, under the cover of darkness, she removed her skin. And the king saw, through a tiny light that was flowing through the window from the moonlit night, that she was indeed a very beautiful woman. Well, the long and short of this story is that she got pregnant.
That's correct.
Juju
is working.
Yeah, you know how these things work.
Yes.
She got pregnant, and before long she gave birth to a baby boy, bouncing baby boy. Oh, what joy the king had! What joy there was
in the palace.
The juju worked.
But not for long. Nothing lasts forever, my brother. Okay, so Nyansiongo, the head wife, went again to her jujuman. This time she was very furious because she had paid him a lot of money, and yet it seemed that the king had reverted into his normal self. He had even gone further to impregnate the girl. Well, the jujuman this time did not ask for anything because he was embarrassed that his juju had not worked that well. But so he gave her another concoction. So the juju man gave her another concoction. This time the concoction was supposed to have the effect of making the king sick. You understand?
Yes.
And it happened that the king got sick. Oh, so sick that he was nearly dying. On his deathbed, the elders tried to look for a medicine man who could cure him, and they traveled far and wide. I'm saying they went to West Africa, North Africa, South Africa. They brought Sangoma, and even Mwakiviro was called, but nothing doing. Nobody could cure the king of his ailment except one man. Nyansiongo's juju man. He came in and said, this is very simple. The person who has caused all this pestilence and malady upon our king is the boy who was born by this Wasioba, the daughter of the spider. That boy must be eliminated. You mean cast out of the kingdom? No, not cast out of the kingdom. He must be put to death by way of tossing him into the river. He must be eliminated, cast away, tossed into a river, and to forever flow in it, away from the kingdom. Well, the king had no choice. It was either his life or the boy's life. And so the boy was tossed into the river. What? He died? Maybe he died, maybe he didn't. Well, the son of Wasioma, the daughter of the spider, was thrown into the river, either to die and drown or be eaten by the vicious crocodiles that resided in that river. Wasioma wept and wept and wept, and wept and moaned for days until she could take it in no more, and she packed her things and went back home to the compound of her father the spider.
Father took her to the juju man, and the juju man prepared for her another concoction, and she came and gave it to the king. And the king again, almost like waking up from the dead, started realizing who she was, that she was his wife, and he even recalled the fact that she had two skins, one on the outer one to deceive the world, and the inner one that was so beautiful that the whole world would fall at her feet if she removed the ugly skin. Yes. And as you know how these things go, she got pregnant. Again. This time round, she gave birth to a girl. Beautiful girl, my friend. So beautiful that the whole kingdom celebrated the coming of this beautiful creature that was born by this ugly daughter of the spider. Again, Ailatu, her jealousy knew no end. She made her journey to her juju man, and the juju man again, after much negotiation about how much, made another concoction and gave it to Ailatu, who went back and gave it to the king, and the king got sick. And the medicine man, the juju man, came and told the king why he was sick. It is because the girl, that daughter you gave birth to, is an evil child. She plots to have you dead and to take over your kingdom because she is the youngest of the daughters and most beautiful. You must do something about it, my king, your majesty, or your kingdom will go into complete ruins. You leave it in the hands of sorcerers. Well, the king had the same treatment done to the girl. She was thrown into the river again, and she died. Or maybe not. Okay. And the daughter of the spider moaned and moaned and moaned. And again she went to her father, and her father took her to the juju man, and the juju man again gave her some concoction, and this concoction she brought to the king, and the king got back to his senses. But there was nothing he could do, for the girl did not get pregnant again.
there was sadness in the palace and across the land. So the king, to perhaps lighten up the moment and make things a little better again, they organized a wrestling contest in which all the young able-bodied men in the kingdom and beyond were called upon to enroll as contestants.
We will go back to the boy who was thrown into that river. You see, that boy did not drown like you thought.
Yes.
He was saved by the juju man.
Of the water. The juju man.
The spider's juju man, not Ailatu's juju man. And the juju man brought him up in a healthy way, and he was strong, he grew strong, and he taught him how to do martial arts, wrestling. Okay? So when the king organized a contest for wrestling, this boy registered for the contest. Well, of course, nobody knew who he was. Even his mother did not know that she had a son who was so handsome and strong and such a skillful wrestler. So when he came, within no time, he won the festival. He won the championship. And most of those wrestlers went home with broken limbs and broken ribs.
The boy was strong.
He was strong, my brother.
Ha! The king was so pleased at the whole event, and he called for a party. And in this party, the boy, the one who was a champion, became the guest of honor. He enjoyed himself. There was a lot of drink and a lot of food and a lot of music and a lot of laughter and a lot of enjoyment. People were happy to see their king almost come back alive again, for he seemed so sad in the years past. Well, the boy stood up. Hey, everybody called out, speech, speech, speech. The boy stood up and he gave a speech. And what a speech. But he ended his speech with saying, I shall come back if you grant me this wish, Your Majesty. I would like to have justice. Justice? I shall tell a story in our next gathering. And in this story, if I lie, put me to death. And if you find the perpetrator, if you find my story true, you must act according to the laws of the land and put the perpetrator to proper justice. Well, the king had been so impressed by the boy, and so he decided to honor him with his wish. And so, a few moons later, the king called for another party. People always like parties, especially the drink is free.
Yes.
And the food is free.
Yes.
You know how people are like.
Yes.
Okay, so people came for the party, and everybody was anxious to hear what this strange, handsome, strong boy had to say. So the boy drew the attention of the whole village and said, when you look at me, do I look like I deserve to be the king's son? And everybody said, yes. You do, of course. You are handsome. You are strong. We wish our king had a son like you. Then he called on to his sister, the one you thought had drowned.
Yes.
She too had been saved by the spider's juju man.
Juju man.
She was in the gathering, and she was a beautiful girl.
Wonderful.
So she was called to the podium, and he said, does this girl look like she deserves to be the king's daughter and marry one of the most strongest, most handsome men in this kingdom? And the crowd was like, oh, of course.
Of course.
You know, they had had a bit to drink, of
Yes.
course. So they cheered more than was really necessary. Okay, and so he called upon his mother. Now, this time, the ugly woman had removed her skin. Remember at the beginning I told you, or did I? That her mother had told her that when the right time came, she would remove that skin and let her true self be seen onto the world.
Yes.
So she was somewhere in a corner under a tree. Everybody was wondering, who is this beautiful stranger? And he called upon her. And he asked the crowd, does this woman deserve to be the king's wife?
Yes. The alcohol is working.
If he was younger, he was younger. Yeah, everybody agreed with him.
And they said, hey, Hey, we wish our king had a wife like this. Hey, this girl is so beautiful.
Yeah.
This woman is so beautiful. Everything about her is just perfect. Well, the boy said, this is my mother, the ugly woman, the daughter of the spider. And this is my sister, the one you threw into the river. And I am the king's son and only heir, the one that was thrown into the river because of the machinations of Ilatu and that evil juju man whom she visits at night whenever her jealousy gets the better of her. Ah, you could have heard the silence from far away, far away. 20 days away, you could hear the silence of that arena. So the king stood up and called his head wife Ilatu and asked her, Ilatu, is it true what this young man says? Speak. And so Ilatu was trembling. The revelation of that truth was too sudden for her. She didn't think she was lost for words. And when somebody is lost for words, what does it mean?
Guilty.
Guilty as charged. Yes, now you're catching on.
Yes.
Guilty as charged.
As charged.
The long and short of this story.
And the woman, Nyasiongo, was condemned to the punishment of being tied to a tree and whipped with the whip of a hippo skin.
A woman.
And they whipped her. Oh, yes. And after she was whipped, she was left tied to a tree to be fed by the hyenas and carrion birds. And that was her punishment. The young man, Emoite, for that was his name, soon became a prince. And after his father had passed on to the land of the ancestors, he became the king, and he ruled with justice and love.
Now, what is the moral of that story?
The moral of the story is that I have a disease.
Disease.
Yes.
A word, or you are ill. Oh.
Yes.
Sometimes you are very crafty. Disease. Now put it here. There's a word like GE. Put it there.
Yes.
Let's see how much you score.
Oh, okay.
You think you're a genius.
I am.
Yeah. So Ilatu was a disease.
Yes.
The jealous woman. So disease comes in all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about the juju man?
The disease is big.
What do you think about the juju man?
The juju man is like I don't know, like a catalyst or something. Is the one who holds the secrets of the kingdom.
Which secret?
The secret of the juju that was being given out there. He knows and he saved.
Which juju man? There are two juju men.
Yes.
Which one are you talking about?
The juju of the spider.
That's a good one.
Yes, that's a good one.
But
Yes.
I'm talking about the one for Ilatu's juju man.
No, that one, he was being used by the woman, So it was a bad one, but then again, the bad things don't last for long.
I tell you, my brother, bad things don't last for long. Like your disease, I don't see how it will fit into this. In fact, this is to cease.
It is to cease, actually.
So bad things will cease.
Will cease.